ways, of talent abound in this country and just waiting to be tapped. Let's get your views on that.
Yeah, one of the things you would notice is that there is huge capital inflow into services. I've said that, especially into ICT. And that is one thing that we can export. So I'll put it this way. There's what I term policy isolation. So policy isolation, in our definition, in our own understanding, is that things are being done to push the economy forward, to push sectors forward, but it is isolated from already existing programs. So there's the one state, one product, for instance. So if I'm going to invest in a state or release money into 774 local governments, I'll probably be looking at what is it that we talked about in terms of what we would develop in the states, the commodities would develop, the skills, the advantages that those local governments and those states have. So when we're channeling funds into building those clusters and then funneling them, just as our Director Evans rightly stated, we're funneling them in a way that they have access to market and other things that need to be dealt with. For instance, in food, agriculture, the major challenge we have when it comes to agriculture after production is post-harvest losses. On the continent, post-harvest loss accounts for more than 70% of the revenue losses that we experience. So if we're going to put funds into that and then we boost production, what happens in the cluster? So we need to deal with policy isolation. We need to look at clusters, look at the entire value chain and say we're dealing with the value chains. So as much as it's important to inject funds into the economy, as much as it's important that government becomes the first investor in its own economy, it also needs to be channeled in a way that brings up in a strategic manner that does not isolate what we've already started with. So there are a lot of lovely policies, there are a lot of lovely structures in place. Can we push them? We can, and we can. Already, as at today, I mean, the reports that we have from the International Trade Center shows about $2.2 billion shortfall in our export capacity. $2.2 billion capacity that we could actually produce and sell to the world. The world is looking for existing partners that we don't have. So for every business person, the first thing is you look for the low-hanging fruit. When we teach strategy, one of the things we call it is the minimum viable product. You start with where your hands can reach, what you can actually make impact in, first off, then build the others. So I think that's what we need to look at. As the committees are meeting and they're discussing, they should be looking at what do we have, where do we have comparative advantage, where are those places where when we put the 50,000 in, when we put the 1 billion in, then it's going to give us certain returns. We already have an advantage in terms of maybe some form of infrastructure, or we say, hey, these guys, we're giving you this money, if you put this in place, some other things kick in. Some benefits like the tax benefits begin to kick in.
Okay, Mr. Collins, we have to round up now. We know, I believe it is a continuing conversation. Collins also, he's an international trade facilitator. He's actually the trade and ambassador to ITFA. And we also had in the studio Monday Evans, Director, Enterprise Development and Promotions. While we discuss federal government entrepreneurship, development and poverty reduction. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
We'll take a break now. One will